CNA's Po Kok-ing spoke exclusively with the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, on the sidelines of the Shangri-La dialogue and asked him about the Ukraine Peace Summit being held in Switzerland later this month.
The purpose of this conference is to bring as many people as possible to discuss about how peace could look like. It's not a peace conference because Russia, the aggressor, will not be there. But the rest of the world have to understand the concerns of Ukraine. And this country wants to explain to the rest of the world what's happening and which are their proposals to stop the war. And the more people will go at the highest possible level, the more the international community could use their influence and their capacity to stop this war. It's not a peace conference, it's a conference about peace. But I think that there is a strong moral commitment from our side to support a country that at the end is one of our closest partners and is being suffering an aggression without any other reason than the imperial will of a country to dominate the neighbor.
From Russia's perspective, they're framing the conflict as an existential threat. They're saying they're doing this because of NATO expansion threatening their security.
Well, who attacked whom? And by the way, let me remind that it was an international treaty signed by Russia when Ukraine bring back to Russia all the nuclear weapons that they inherited from the Soviet Union times. They were a nuclear power, Ukraine, and they gave back to Russia because the international community was not in favor of proliferation, and they gave back to Russia all the missiles and atomic bombs that they were gathering on their silos. And Russia signed a commitment ensuring the territorial integrity of Ukraine. So whoever says that the problem is NATO encircling Russia, Russia didn't fulfill the commitments they took when they recovered the nuclear arms that Ukraine was having as an inheritance of the Soviet Union. And if the purpose of Putin was not to be encircled by NATO, well, he got just the contrary, because he managed to make Finland and Sweden traditionally neutral countries who were not part of NATO, knocking at the door of NATO saying, hey, I want to become a member because I see what has happened to Ukraine and I want to have to be part of a club that could defend me just in case Putin decides to attack me. We have been asking China to use their influence on Russia to stop the aggression. Certainly China has a lot of influence on Russia. On the last 2 years, the exports from China to Russia has been growing more than in the 10 years before the war. And it's not, there is not evidence that they are supplying arms, but what we call dual-use goods that can be used to build a freeze or maybe to build a rocket has been increasing a lot. That's why, for example, we have been taking measures against some Chinese firms that we suspect they are circumventing sanctions, importing goods from Europe and then re-exporting to Russia.
So would you say Beijing is sincere when it says it wants to facilitate peace in Ukraine?
There are a lot of people willing to facilitate peace, but how? How? What kind of a peace? The peace that has to be based on their rights, the right to sovereignty and territorial integrity. A peace based on surrender because you don't have the capacity to fight, it would not be a peace, it would be a domination.